can you remember the first time you thought, okay, musical theatre, this is what I want to be doing?
I mean, look, there wasn't I wish there was an epic moment that I could tell you about, but there actually wasn't. It was a kind of slow creep of kind of doing it more and more over the course of like not very long actually, probably like 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
I got into I didn't really start doing this until I was about 15 as a hobby, you know, as a kid. You know, some people get into it at 5, they start dancing at 3, don't they? All that kind of thing. I got into it a lot later. So it was really over the course of, you know, what, 15 to 18 that I sort of, it went from being the most fun hobby I could do, or I found, to then it just slowly, like I went to a school to kind of do a bit more in terms of academic stuff towards it, you know, drama A levels and things like that. More and more stuff outside school, then started to do Easter schools at like London drama schools, and it's just this slow creep. Because I, you know, as a kid, I wasn't thinking I want a career. I wasn't thinking more further ahead than 6 months in the future ever really as a kid. Even that, I mean, next week. The thought of a career was way off. It was just about what's the next step, and then so eventually the next step got to where shall I go and do my degree.
Yeah.
And then I chose, well, I didn't choose to do it. I chose to try and do it at drama school, and then unfortunately got in. So that was, and at that point, you're thinking, okay, now I want to be an actor kind of thing. So there you go.
So it's kind of like a much later discovery. Like you say, a lot of people go into it, they love to sing and dance and perform when they were little, but you just didn't have any of that.
Not particularly. I mean, I do you know what? I played Oliver in Oliver at about 10 years old or 11 years old at primary school, but then it just kind of fell off the radar because I ended up going to like a really, really strict kind of all boys grammar. You know, they didn't do any of that. It was just purely academic up until I was about 16.
Yeah.
And around 16 or 15, I started to do some amateur stuff outside of school and realized this is what I want to do, not as a job, but just this is what I want to do now. So it was kind of, maybe if I hadn't have gone to that grammar school, sorry, it might have kicked in a lot earlier.
Sure.
It may well have kicked in a lot earlier, but yeah, there was no room for doing any of that at grammar school. Forget it. No fun. Just sit down and do your work. So yeah. So actually, maybe like there was a few. I mean, and when I moved schools and went to a kind of performing arts college to do my A levels, and they started taking us on trips down to London. They took us to Les Mis, they took us to Phantom, they took us to all these things, and that was the time that maybe that was the time that I sort of was going, that would be brilliant to do that as a job. I mean, so far away in the future.
Yeah.
It's almost conceptual, it's not real, but that would be a cool job to do. I mean, how cool would that be? So maybe that was the time, actually. That's probably a better answer, I think.
Scratch the last one.
Scratch the last one, yeah. I'm brainstorming as I go, but
that's okay. Yeah, no, it's funny, isn't it? Because I say to people all the time, you don't really look back when you're a performer, you look forward, because what's done is done. You can't erase or change that, but you're constantly like chasing the next thing.
Totally. Yeah, totally. So, yeah, absolutely.
Ask you, like, what did you do? You're like, oh God, I don't know. Come back to me.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's very true. Yeah, it's very true.
So, as well, you went to drama school. How do you think that prepared you for the career in musical theatre?
Oh, very well.
Yeah.
Very well, I think. I mean, it's really, I mean, talking about looking back, actually, I mean, looking back on it now, it was a smaller step. It's a smaller stepping stone than it was at the time. At the time, it was everything, and it was everything. But looking back, you know, you learn a hell of a lot after you leave, a hell of a lot. Maybe things are a bit more specific to what you're doing. But I barely have a bad word to say about my time at Guildford. A lot of people I've met since, you know, working on jobs have, you know, had a difficult time at college. I mean, it is a difficult time for everyone in terms of they work you very hard. And I say that with no embellishment really, in the sense that, you know, in Guildford, we lived in a house in the first year, and we had some Surrey University students next door, and we used to socialise with them and all that kind of thing. And they were doing degrees in, you know, other things.
Yeah.
And they were in like one afternoon a week. Now they had essays to do and things like that as well, but we were in 8:30 till 8 sometimes, or like, you know, or till 6 or whatever. It was every single day, apart from the weekends, obviously. And even at the weekends, we were getting our stuff ready for the next week. Now that was all the time.
Yeah.
So they do work very hard, but I think, and maybe I'll touch on this a bit later, but it's like, my opinion is that, lots of people disagree with me. Most people might disagree with me actually, but my opinion, it's sort of the only way to go. As in, go and do your training, and there'll be much more to learn when you leave. But it's the bulk of it is kind of there. So yeah. The other thing, and I was a bit guilty of this, and a few people, is that there was this sort of mentality a little bit. Maybe it was just me, of like, if I get into drama school, I will be great when I leave. That will just happen. Yeah. I'll come out and I'll be successful in that. So once you get into drama school, you're sort of flying. That's what the mentality was. When actually it's not like that. Like, you can coast at drama school. You can coast in theatre jobs. You can coast in any area of life. And it's realised that recently as well. And people did coast at drama school. They get in, they think, well, I'm going to be an actor now. I've got 3 years. The school will train me up, and I'll come out and I'll be amazing. Yeah. It's not. You have to keep putting the work in all the time.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the main thing I realised quickly when I got there, because I have to say, some people get there and not really improve by the time they left.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was their fault, if I'm honest, because they just thought that it would all happen for them.
Yeah.
And that's a kind of common misconception, I think, is that against drama school, I'll be great. It's all about you. So make the most of it.
You know what? I think as well, because I feel the same. Because it takes so much to get in, you work so hard to just get through the door, because it's so difficult. There's so many of you that want so few places.
Yeah.
You then get in and you think, well, I'm one of these people that I see in Les Mis, that I see in fact. Here's, it says training, I'm going here. So if I'm going here and they went here, I must literally leave, and they go, oh, brilliant. Oh, you went to Central. Oh, amazing. That's fab. Oh, great. Lovely. I'll just put your name down for that then. Don't worry about auditioning. You don't need, we don't need any of that because you've been here. And I think I'm very similar. I thought the same. I thought, God, I've managed to get in. Here I am.
Yeah.
And, quite frankly, this is what, and it doesn't work like that, because that's not what it's like in life, because you've got to want it badly enough and work hard enough that people can see that. They don't just look at where you've been and automatically assume that you're great.
Exactly. And the other side of it is that everyone who gets into drama school is great. They do have talent, and that in itself it's a big achievement on its own, because they're hard places, as you just said, they're hard places to get into, really hard. So that is an achievement, but just in the longer term, it's kind of like, it is a training course, and very vocational, and so it's the old thing of like, well, you put in what you get out what you put in.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure you put in. That's my thoughts on it.
So your career highlights so far, give us a few of your faves.
Okay, favorites. I mean, it sort of changes really based on the memory that I have at the time. I mean, Phantom was always something I wanted to do. Phantom was one of the shows I saw when I was just a teenager. And my mum always tells the story. She's like, oh, you came home and you said, oh, I'm going to be Raoul one day. And mum sort of went, yeah, right, type thing.
I love.
Yeah, right, yeah, exactly. Yeah, keep dreaming, sort of thing. So obviously doing that was a big deal. And I remember, I remember where I sat when I saw it. and there's a point in the show where I used to sort of look out over that area of the stalls, and that sort of flashed back in my memory that 16 years earlier, it's some strange things that happen like that, and they really do mean a lot to the person, me in this case, when things like that happen. I think when I got the phone call, being offered the job of Fiero in Wicked was probably, the job itself, of course, was great, but maybe some people are watching this, who aren't sure of that yet, or are just about to get into it or something, that often the phone call that you get from your agent saying you've got the job is one of the best parts of it, because you feel so like you've been auditioning for months for this thing without any return, no words back, no feedback. You're like, I don't know what the hell's going on. You get the job, and you just feel completely vindicated by all the efforts you put into it. So it's kind of relief as well as anyway. So yeah, I was on my bike actually, cycling into London for something else, and or just about to leave. No, maybe I was just about to leave, and and then got the phone call when my agent said, look, I've heard from Wicked, and at that point, because I'd only been I'd been understudying up until that point in my career, and I thought I was up for the understudy. So when she said I've heard from Wicked, I thought, oh bang, I've got second cover or first cover Fiero. I was like, amazing, like I've actually got. And she said, look, I think you need to sit down for this. And so I was like, okay. And obviously I didn't sit down at all. I was, and she said, they've just called and offered you the part. And I was like, and I just, and that's obviously stayed with me, that phone call. It was just so special, and it took, and that was a dream of mine to play a principal in London for, since the beginning, since I started. So that was a real special moment, really. Definitely a highlight. That's kind of the thing. That's what comes to mind, definitely.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Not like you say, the jobs were all, great, and you're not saying that they weren't, but it's usually the moments like that are the things that stick in your mind.
Yeah, because there's singular moments. Like the job. The truth is, the job is it's work. You do it 8 times a week. I did that show for 2 years. So 8 times 52 weeks for a year times another 2. You can see how like difficult to pick out individual moments from that. Whereas the phone call is very bang, that's a moment. Whereas the show is a collection of hundreds and thousands of different moments which you might enjoy. So that's why I would say the phone call, really.
Definitely. And also that's what changed your path at that point.
Exactly. Yeah, it feels like a different thing. Yeah, and it's like the phone call, all you have afterwards is elation from a phone call. Whereas with the job, it's a tough job. It was a tough job to do. It was very difficult. Though, Wicked. Anyone from Wicked watching, management, you won't mind me saying this. It's a very demanding show. It's a very demanding building. And they expect a lot of you, like every job. But particularly in Wicked, it was just because it's such a high energy show they're very specific, and it's come from America. So there's all sorts of, eyes watching it. So, sometimes that can be quite tough, as well as it being really rewarding. So whereas the phone call is just all positive stuff, it's all good stuff. So yeah, that would definitely be a highlight for sure. Yeah.
So talking about shows, do you have any pre-show rituals? Do you have anything that you do, or that you make sure that you, I don't know, wear or bring with you, or what?
Well, okay, so this probably a really disappointing answer, but I not only do I not have any rituals, okay, or traditions, I actually actively don't have them, like actively avoid them.
Yeah.
The main reason being that there's a couple of reasons. The main reason is that if I feel myself getting into a routine backstage, I tend to get into a routine on stage, which I don't like to do, because the show is routine enough as it is.
Of course. We
do the same show every night. We say the same things. We sing the same songs. We do the same stuff every single night. So, but I do like, because there's understudies that come on, and cast changes all the time because of holidays and sick days and blah, 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 blah. If I'm doing the same stuff all the time backstage, it's hard to vary a little, because there are slight variations each night. And I want to be open to those things. So it tends to lock me up if I do stuff backstage. And if I find myself getting into a routine backstage, I mean, there are plenty of routines backstage because, for efficiency, things have to run relatively. But if I find myself getting into any personal kind of, ones, then I get out of them. And then plus, I'm not a superstitious person anyway. The only thing I don't say, I can't even say it now, but I don't say the Scottish play backstage for other people because they get all stressed when you mention it. Yeah. So I never say the Scottish play. And I don't. What else don't I do? I don't whistle.
Okay.
It's not because I think it's going to cause me bad luck. It's because the person near me will like start having a go at me, and I like to keep friends at work. So yeah, I don't whistle or say the Scottish play. So, but not because I care, because other people do. So
other people will.
Like, oh Christ, or the whistling one was like, it might be common for people might know this. I didn't know this, but like I found out in a panto that I was doing, if you whistle, you've got like something like you've got to go out of the dressing room, turn around 3 times and spit on the floor or something like that. So I think I'm probably misremembering it, but it's something like that to like reverse the whistling. And I was like, this is ridiculous. Like I can't, that's how superstitious some people get.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I don't have anything like that.
I think with rituals, my big problem is I went through a stage when I was younger, like kind of like my late teens, early 20s, where I got a bit obsessive about things, and my problem then is, I had to break it because I thought, if for whatever reason I can't do this, how am I going to be like,
exactly.
So yeah. I can't either, because otherwise it just gets in your head and it makes you forget about the whole reason why you're there.
Yeah, it locks you down. This is the thing. Like, you want to be able to be free to kind of, react and do whatever. Whereas if you've got to do all these little things like get things in place and put this here and stuff, it's like you've missed the scene, mate. So, it's like, I mean, Jeremy Taylor to the stage type of thing,
You're on.
Exactly. I mean, it's, that's basically it. So yeah, no rituals for me, thank you.
So lots of shows warrant you to use like special skills, so roller skating or juggling, acrobatics. Has there ever been a time where you've been asked to do something crazy, or, as I say, extra for a job or a role, or you've had to learn something, or you've been like, do you know what, this is my time to shine, I can show off this skill that I have?
No, disappointingly, no. I mean, like, do you know what, I can't, like, we had a circus skills class at college, right? I mean, how cool does that sound? I'm doing a degree and part of it's in circus skills. And the guy who came in, because the head of dance at Guildford, Phillida, fantastic woman, and she's like the original white cat in Cats. Like, she's just epic, right? And her husband, Jimmy Johnston, is like, he's big and in theatre world and all the rest of it. And he's just wild, got so much energy. And he came in to teach us circus skills because he'd done shows like Barnum, and it's just Barnum, isn't it, for circus shows? But like he'd done a load of like, tricks and stuff like that on other shows, Oklahoma, things like that. So he came in to teach it, and it was just the most incredible class. And I learned to juggle. Clubs. We did stilt walking, unicycle. We did all these skills. So I'm like dying to put those into something. Like, they're still on my CV. I think, to be honest, I took them off my CV because like it'd been 10 years and no one had ever asked me to juggle, and I was like, come on, the skills are there to be, yeah, I was kind of like, it'd be lovely to use them at some point, but I never have, and I think, and it's certainly not a complaint. Oh my goodness, it really isn't a complaint. But a lot of the roles that I've done have been romantic leads. That's what I do, and I love it. However, they don't often require a lot of those kind of crazy special skills. They just require the basic ones that you try and do as well as you can. So no, I mean, God, what have I done? I mean, nothing really that. I mean, I'm just running through the shows in my head now, and I've never had to do anything. No, not literally. I have no answer for you on that at all. Like, nothing. But it's funny you say that, because like when I first went into London, a friend of mine was doing Zorro at the Garrick.
Yeah.
It was there for like 6 months. I did see it. I can't remember whether it was any good or not. I really can't remember. But a friend of mine from Guildford was doing it. Was ensemble cover type stuff. And she we met up for a drink, and I said, "Oh, how's Zora?" And she said, "So it's really strange in the sense that they've got, people like me who, train in musical theatre, and this is what we're doing. But because it's Zorro, there's a lot of sort of specialist Spanish flamenco-y dancers. So it's not like they've trained us up to do it. They just bring in flamenco dancers to do it, like or people who are highly skilled in that thing.
Yeah.
So it's almost like, I imagine, if they want something done, they'll sort of go to a specialist of that, as opposed to, I think that's right.
Do it, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So like, okay, I might be able to juggle, but there'll be some epic, people from, I mean, not Cirque du Soleil, because that's a whole other thing, but it's like people of that ilk. They might bring them in to do that stuff, as opposed to get me to do it, who can do it, but maybe not amazingly well. It depends on the show, obviously, and the budget and all that kind of thing. Sometimes they take actors, use all the skills they can. Another time they might, with the money, be able to bring in. So I just never really. They don't want any of my special skills, to be honest, Jen.
Oh, Jeremy, that sucks.
So
you're just like, well, great.
it is. Yeah, I'll just sing a little bit then, So,
Oh, brilliant. That's
yeah.
fun though. I guess for me, I don't know, like maybe it's a good thing that they don't want your extra skills, because you might get a little bit more stressed.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean,
If you have to juggle on stage as well as everything else.
whilst you're singing a romantic duet, if I've got going like this on the side and like on a unicycle whilst I'm
What do you mean I'm trying to seduce her? But I'm
exactly throwing knives, I was just like, come on. Oh, God,
Yeah.
can you imagine?
Oh,
Jesus.
wow.
Yeah. So
anything could happen after lockdown. I reckon they're just gonna go big or go home.
well, they've got to get people back in the theatres, haven't they? So they might have to just turn up the crazy factor.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that your romantic lead may well kill someone with the knife throwing.
Yeah.
Might end up in casualty because he's swallowed his the fire.
Yeah.
I mean, there's risk.
Yeah. Stranger things have happened.
You're so right, like that.
Yeah. So yeah, don't expect any special skills if you ever see me in anything. Basically, is the bottom line there. Just this, good old fashioned whatever, in a show.
It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah.
So, have you got a favourite performance venue, somewhere that you've loved performing?
Oh, I mean, they really have all been great, actually. I've got to say the Palladium though.
Okay.
It was the first theatre I worked in. I mean, I was just yeah, I know, crazy. I still can't believe it to this day. Certain lucky things happen to you, and that was God lucky, Jesus. Yeah, no, the Palladium was incredible. Like it's big, it's wide, it's close. All the seating's close to you. It's red. God, it's so red. When there's no one in there, it's just like, oh. And there's the royal boxes, and the stage is so wide. It was from my memory. I think it was. I remember like the first. So the first show I did, right, was Sound of Music, and it was on at the Palladium at the time, and I'd just come straight from college, right, where the third year shows that you do are, you do quite a few of them. You might do 5, I think, or 6 or something, and you're being assessed, okay, because it's your third year and it's a degree, so you're literally getting marked on your shows. People aren't just turning up to enjoy them; they're literally going, well, what grade are we going to give him? And you're aware of that the whole time, really. So I spent the whole of the last year being graded, okay, and marked and scrutinized and all the rest of it, right? And so I turn up, in the show, do our 4 weeks rehearsal. We're in the first week, and I was an understudy at that time to Rolf, the Telegram boy. He becomes a Nazi and all that kind of thing. And the guy who was playing it, Nadeem, really good friend of mine, I took over from him in Phantom recently, but he was playing the part. Yeah. And he said to me in rehearsals, he said, look, can I have that first Saturday off? Because, you know, would you be prepared to go on for Rolf on the first Saturday? So like 5 days in. And I said, yeah, sure. I mean, Rolf's not a massive part. Okay. And so I thought, why not? Okay. And anyway, the day came and I was obviously nervous and all that. But the one thing I remember from going on that day, it was Saturday, so it was 2 shows I got to do that day. And the matinee was, as soon as I went out for the first scene, which was 16 going on 17, so you come out and you do that, was just, it sounds really cheesy and it's not, this is exactly how it was. It was just this sense of like warmth from the audience. Okay. No one said, it was a quiet audience. Okay. But there was this difference between a theatre full of paid customers who wanted to be entertained for fun. They were looking forward to seeing the show. They were excited about it. There was this like, and the stark difference between that and being assessed at college was so overwhelming. And it was in the Palladium, obviously. So I went from a 30 seat or 100 seat venue at college to a 2,200 or whatever it was. Yeah. It was just this real like sense of warmth. And obviously that continued for the whole show. And I remember I remember sort of not being able to stop smiling after the show had finished, partly because of that, because I was like, wow, if this is what the job is like, I don't want to stop doing this.
Yeah.
And that was at the Palladium, so that's why that venue will always be special to me.
If I said to you, quick fire round now, I'm going to give you some options and you just have to tell me which you would prefer.
Okay, this is good because I can natter on as I've been doing, so quick fire does work. It works for me, so.
Okay, so tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Inside or outside?
Ooh. Outside, I think, yeah.
Country or city break?
So difficult. City break.
Dog or cat?
Cat, 100%.
Zoo or beach?
Beach, I don't like zoos.
Popcorn or sweets?
Popcorn.
Book or film?
Film.
Winter or summer?
Winter.
Amazing! Woohoo!
That was good. Do you know what that reminded me of is you know Friends, where they're doing they're trying to get them to decide, and she goes, right, clear your mind, answer as quickly as you can, and she's like, who would you rather sleep with, Monica or Rachel? And it's like Ross, and he's like, dude, you're a sick. Like, just reminds me of that, like, clear your mind. Oh dear. Anyway, yeah.
Friends, I love it. Yeah, it's so true. Yeah, I did something with someone the other day, and weirdly she said the same. She was like, oh my god, that actually sounds like Friends.
Yeah.
I was like, best describe this, and she was like, that reminds me of Phoebe when she says, no, best describe, is it like a tree? I think she says a tree, and they said green, and she's like, leafy.
Yeah. Well, this is like everyone's kind of rediscovered it again because it's on Netflix, and like I definitely watched that more than anything else. Like, it's just on in the background all the time, and I think for like our generation who grew up with it, to have it just there, it's just pure comfort, isn't it? Just to have those people talking all the time.
It is. It's such a good thing. I've been a couple of times when I lived in London to Friends Fest with my friends.
I really want to go.
Oh, it's so good.
I'm gonna go at some point.
You have to go, honestly. Have this big stage where there's always this really cool, like, cheesy presenter, and like he gets you to play games, and I was fuming because we'd had a few cocktails. I made my one friend, and we were going to answer this quiz, and she was like, oh Jen, I really don't want to, and I was like, come on, we're doing it. And we got beaten out. We didn't win the pair of socks. Gutted. We got beaten out. They asked us when it first aired, and I couldn't remember.
Well, the year or like the month? Or...
The month.
Oh my god! I mean, it was 94, was it? Or I know it was 94. I would never remember the month.
September.
I mean.
And I think I can't remember when I think I went somewhere like May, and the woman next to me like smirked, and I was like, dang it, she knows.
Yeah, but you know what? Like I'm all for Friends, right? But to know it in that detail, I'm like, come on, mate, get a life. Like, you know, like.
I was just like, and the thing is that my one friend was like, she's like twice our age.
Yeah.
That's what it is. See, she's in her 60s. She's just got too much time on her hands.
This is it.
That was the
Yeah,
We
you
like,
don't want to be the person who knows all the answers to all those quizzes. I don't think, you know.
so cool. Like they had Central Perk, and you could like go in through all the different rooms. They had it all set out as it would have been, and they
So
had
good.
the diner where Monica used to work, and like people singing, and I was like, it's cheese, it is cheese, but it's so good.
Yeah, but when you if you go to Friends Fest, you just want to be like, if I went, I'd want to be overwhelmed with Friends, everything, every single set piece, everything just recreated. I just want it all because it's already so familiar to you, isn't it? Like I could pretty much describe the whole apartment and everything. So seeing it would just, I can't. I mean, I haven't been, but it's like, yeah, you just want it all, wouldn't you?
Yeah, we did. It was like, yeah, it was amazing. And then we go through the souvenir shop, and I was like, oh, I don't want anything, like I don't need anything. And then I saw the giant Hugsy, and I was like,
Oh yes, yeah, gotta get Hugsy.
literally came back to my London flat, my little flat with this massive thing. Everyone was like, only you, like.
Oh, that's so good. Do you know what? That's next time I see one, I'm like 100% gonna go, because I have seen them. It's just, you know, sometimes you just don't get around to it, do you? But yeah, amazing.
Have to go. You have to go. It's so good. And my very last question for you is, what advice would you give young people, so some of the students that I teach and anyone else that's interested in a career in theatre, what advice would you give them?
Okay, so so if they're interested in a career specifically, do it the long way around. Do it the old school way. You know, don't like. I mean, again, I take this advice with a pinch of salt, because you're going to get tons of advice out there. Not even take it with a pinch of salt. Just there'll be lots of people that disagree with me, is what I mean. Take it wholeheartedly. Don't take it with a pinch of salt. Like, do it the long way round. Go and don't take shortcuts. You know, immerse yourself in as much as possible now, because obviously your students are quite young, are they? Are they sort of teenagers?
Yeah.
Or
So my youngest is 7 and my eldest is 16.
okay, so we're talking very young then. Okay, so at that age, I mean, I would just if it's fun, you know, do it basically, and do as much of it as you can, really. It's at that age, it is all about having fun with it, and experiencing as much as you can. You know, don't say no to too much. You know, if there's a dance class coming up, just give it a go. Like, have fun, and that's at that age. For the later students at 16, who are thinking of maybe starting to turn the wheels on, get the wheels in motion to sort of do it as a career. You know, listen to all the people around you as you keep climbing the ladder.
Yeah.
You don't know it all. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
And neither do I at 34. Okay, I really don't. And you know what? You'll never stop learning. I saw an interview with Judi Dench the other day where she's like, I still feel. What did she say? It was something like, she still gets nervous. Judi Dench, for crying out loud. She still gets nervous, and she still worries about the next job, where the next job's coming from, or something like that. And I was like, right, okay. And I read something about was it Ian Holm who died the other day? He was Bilbo Baggins in Lord of the Rings, and I mean, tons of other things. But you know, he gave up theatre acting because he was so nervous about it, and much later on in life. So my thing is that that was my point I was making. Is just that if you're feeling a bit insecure about things, which everyone does, especially as a teenager. God, I had terrible things like that at the time. And you're feeling, and especially with performing arts, because it's very exposing. You're on stage in front of people looking at you. I mean, it's almost the definition of exposure. But it's that people all the way to the top get that.
Yeah.
So don't think that you're on your own and unusual and strange and weird. I don't know if I've ever met an actor or anyone, or a singer, a musician, whatever, who hasn't felt like that. In fact, probably a human being who hasn't felt like that. So, you know, don't feel like you're on your own with any of that.
Yeah.
I've probably mixed quite a few points there, but I've just been kind of just letting the ideas fly a little bit. But that's quite a good one, because, you know, mental health comes up a lot at the minute, and it's you know, it can really, you know, some bad experiences on stage can scar some people actually, and there is a certain part of you that has to have bad experiences sometimes, or negative experiences. I mean, God, it's life, isn't it? But just know that you're certainly not the first person to go through it.
Yeah.
You won't be the last.
No.
In fact, everyone goes through it. Like I said, right the way to Dame Judi Dench. So there you go. That's, yeah.
It's crazy because you look at people like that you kind of have grown up with, that you always put on a pedestal, that you always thought, oh my God, look at these people, they've really made it, and they must now just walk into a job or just get offered a job, or and they must just think, hey, look at me, check me out. But it's so not true.
It's not. It's the opposite of that. And unfortunately, the without trying to make too grand a point of it, unfortunately, things like social media and things like that, where people portray the end results, they portray that no one ever says, I had a terrible time last night. It's always, I had a great time last night. The truth is, there's lots of wheels and cogs turning underneath that are never surfaced. So people get a false picture of life or performance or whatever. Actually, there's huge amounts of anxieties, huge amounts of negativities, huge amounts of this that go on for every person, and just to always remember that when you're going through a difficult time. It's not, the world is not, especially at the moment, it is not what it seems. It's very difficult for everyone to pull the wool over each other's eyes at the moment, online, as we live almost our whole lives online at the minute because of lockdown. But it's very easy for people to just showcase. I do it, I've got Instagram. Goodness me, I've got, I don't put up, horrible pictures of myself. You put up good pictures of yourself. That's, because that's just what you do. But trust me, there's some rough photos of me out there. Okay, so in fact, I might put one on at some point just so you can all see. And huge amounts of stress and anxiety that go with jobs and theatre and all that sort of thing. So anyway, I've been waffling, but.
True. No, it's true because it's really important. I say this to my kids all the time. Reality is that's not what life is about. Like you say, everybody puts their best on social media, but these people who have got totally different lifestyles to you. But what was nice during lockdown was quite a lot of kids saying to me when I was talking to them, how's everything going and stuff, and they were like, do you know what, so and so, just for an example, like Beyonce, okay, and she was sat on her couch in her pajamas, and I was sat on my couch in my pajamas, and I thought it was really nice because I said to them, this is what I've been saying to you, everybody sits at home and has a rough day. Everybody, just because these people don't portray that, they're not going to want to portray that, because they're going to want to make you see this whole ideology of their life. But this is what I keep saying to you. Everybody has a rubbish day where they sit down and eat rubbish and do nothing. Like, it's not just you. So please don't fixate on their life and look at their life and go, my life's not like that, because that's just not.
Exactly. And I agree. And to bring it back to theatre as well, is that, like, when I go into audition rooms sometimes and I'm like, oh God, I feel like a fraud, like I can't do this and all that. And actually the truth is, the casting director, the director in that, they probably feel, well, they almost certainly feel like that too. They're like, God, I'm a cast director. I should really make myself presentable for these actors coming in. So everyone's thinking about each other, but everyone's kind of feeling a little bit fraudulent. Like, am I really that good at what I do?
Yeah.
And everyone is having all those doubts all the time. So, and just, to the students, you might go, oh, I don't think I can do this. Welcome to the club.
Yeah. Yeah.
Welcome to the club, which is everyone in the theatre business. Most of us feel at some points, sometimes we sometimes we go out there and we can do it and stuff, but there's a huge amount of doubt and tons of things all the time behind it. So welcome to the club. That's basically the way to finish it, I think. You are normal.
Yeah.
Really normal.